Hey everyone, I am Jonathan Rumer, co-founder of ULife and council member at Insurtech UK, and super happy and excited to be here on this sunny day with Richard from Percayso Inform. How are you doing, Richard?
Really well, thanks, Jonathan. How are you?
I'm very good. I mean, I was enjoying hearing about the smell of the cows and the sheep just around your local area just now. Just tell us and all of our millions of listeners out there about where you're based.
Well, I'm in a little village called Barkston in rural Leicestershire, not in the bit that's still affected by COVID, fortunately. But yeah, it's really in the middle of nowhere. Lots of cows, lots of sheep, horses, all that sort of stuff. So yes, so I'm virtually keeping in touch with the whole Insurtech and technology scene at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, but that's absolutely brilliant, as we're talking about now, as you really can be based absolutely anywhere and be at the heart of Insurtech from absolutely any farm across the world right now. So tell us a little bit about your story, about Percayso, about how you started. You know, what are you guys out there for?
Yeah, so I mean, we're relatively new. We've been building a lot of stuff in the background for the last 4 years, really. Now we launched formally to the market in March. And I guess the genesis for the business was in a company called Insurance Initiatives Limited, which I'm sure many insurers, brokers, MGAs will be aware of. And one of their founders, Simon James, is the founder of our business. So taking it back to probably 12 years ago, Insurance Initiatives revolutionized the use of data and data enrichment in the insurance industry. And I think they did two main things, really. First of all, they provided access to new and predictive data sets, such as Q and public credit bureau data, to use in consumable formats for insurance pricing. And secondly, they provided the connectivity and technology, which meant that the data could be used at point of quote and at aggregated volume. So two really big hurdles to get over. That meant that insurance pricing could be more accurate than ever before, and many insurers, brokers, MGAs benefited from that innovation starting about, as I say, 12 years ago. So IL as a business was sold 4 years ago now. Simon felt there was a lot of unfinished business in the data enrichment and insurance intelligence kind of area, which is why he started Percayso Inform 4 years ago now to really push those boundaries further, offer a greater degree of data access, more innovative ways to access each data source, and crucially get a more flexible and bespoke approach to that data enrichment, really. And I guess the market was crying out for competition as well. I think, it's always good to have a new kind of disruptive player.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, messing with the established order. And so aside from Simon, I joined 3 years ago now. My background has always been within credit bureaus, data and analytics businesses. We've 25 staff now, and many of them are ex-credit bureau, ex-data analytics people, or Insurance Initiatives Limited people, or obviously in ex-insurance people as well. And many of us are a bit of all of those things.
Wow. Okay. So I mean, insurance. I mean, I think at its heart, beyond anything else, has always been a data business. I think we haven't called it that for many years, but ultimately it's always about data, and who's ever got the better data wins. Whether that be on client acquisition, whether that be on pricing, on risk, on claims, on anything. Who's ever got the best data wins. And hopefully some good customer service as well at the same time, of course. But at its heart, I think what you guys are doing obviously is key to a successful industry. Enrichment of data, and data, as I said, has been, I think, around for kind of ever in the insurance thing. Where do you think it's going to go in the future? I mean, how much better can it get? Where are we going?
Yeah, I mean, I think. I think there's always new stuff, we can do there. I think there are a few trends out there within the market. And there's obviously changes like GDPR have been happening, in the kind of consumer space, and consumers being more aware of the power of their own data. And then you tie that in with, Insurtech, FinTech, enhanced customer journeys, I think there's a huge opportunity there to leverage additional data sets, new data sets, combining different data sets in new ways. And obviously some of the advances in artificial intelligence and machine learning, you know, kind of fit very, very nicely into that space as well, and act as an enabler. So, you know, you look across that and you think, well, you know, actually the GDPR is quite an enabling piece of legislation if you look at it in a positive way. You look at the advances in technology, the advances in analytics, combine all those things together, and I think there's a lot more to be done there, which is obviously what we're trying to do.
Fantastic. You used just about every buzzword I think that we all love to hear.
Yes.
And I'm going to push you just slightly on that. Is I'd love to hear a real world example, or you know, example of those data sets, or something slightly unique or slightly different, or even, to be honest, just something super simple that's being done the first time now based on what you guys have done. So just to give it a little bit more color, how you're actually enriching data, or
yeah, I mean,
differently.
we've got a very long list of you know, of data sources and partners that we work with. So partly we work with different partners. So, you know, things like Q and the CIRA, you know, fraud database, and the different credit bureaus, you know, so, but we're trying to use them in new and innovative ways, obviously not just for the fun of it, to actually deliver a big benefit to insurers and insurance pricing. I think there's the using all of those standard data sets, but combining them in new and innovative ways, and really squeezing the most juice out of those as possible. You know, as I say, with advanced machine learning and doing something really bespoke there. But there is, you know, I talked about the kind of consumer empowerment side of things a little bit, and I think there's a lot to be gained there from accessing, I guess, different data sources that we couldn't access before, but with consumer consent and with, you know, really positive consumer journeys, actually we can get hold of and use in a positive way a lot more data sets. So I'm thinking things like open banking there. You know, I think there's a lot of opportunity there if we can nail that, and access to additional credit bureau data sets that haven't been used before, and the combination of those, I think, is really important.
Not something we've discussed at all before, but who are your typical customers? So who's buying this from you? Is it other insurtechs looking for an edge? Is it the big old boys who trying to you know, to try and move forward? Like, you know, who benefits most from this? I
think there's a couple of, I guess I'll probably categorize it into two for ease, really. I think there's certainly an underserved market in the kind of MGA and smaller insurer and broker space, where some of the traditional data enrichment routes are, you know, kind of, you know, in terms of setup costs and ongoing and things like that, it's just difficult for them to engage with that, and also have the, you know, they're very focused on their own business. They're not a data enrichment business per se, and so they, you know, perhaps need a bit more guidance and the tools to enable that. And we don't see that in the market at the moment very much. So, you know, we're keen to put something that is right sized for those organisations, is flexible, and we can help, you know, with the implementation and the ongoing kind of honing of that solution on, you know, rather than just kind of, you know, one size fits all kind of thing. So I think at that end of the market, I think there's certainly, we would certainly see ourselves, you know, delivering a lot of benefit. And then, you know, at the other end of the market, where, you know, we're talking to big insurers, big brokers who have got, you know, huge analytics team. They're absolutely, you know, they're ingesting data from every source possible, doing some very clever things with it. But, you know, we're really big experts in certainly in the credit bureau side of things, open banking, and some of the newer data sets that they're not necessarily as familiar with. So it's about just augmenting what they're already doing, really, and just adding that extra layer of expertise, but trying to work with them as well, not just, you know, again, dumping something on those guys.
Yeah, credit's an interesting one. It's something that came up with a discussion with one of our reinsurer a while ago, because so we're in the life insurance space, and in the US, but not so much here, credit score is actually used as part of a life insurance underwriting application, because it turns out there's actually a pretty good correlation between credit scores and your credit history to how long you're going to live, which is a kind of bit awkward to think about, but it was an interesting thing that I hadn't come across. So I mean, I'm interested if you've got any other insights like that where you've been able to connect, to things, credit, open banking, to outcomes that aren't necessarily obvious.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's obviously multiple use for financial data within insurance, and I think the credit bureau data is a very good source of that. Obviously, verifying identification in the first instance is a key one. If we're finding you on multiple bank accounts on the electoral roll on various other sources, then that obviously gives an insurer much more confidence in terms of wanting to quote and how much to quote and all that sort of stuff. So I think the fundamental is is this person who they say they are, and do they exist, and are they at that address, to kind of reduce fraud. But I think I guess similar to your life insurance example there as well, there's a very distinct correlation between credit risk and your financial stress essentially, and claim risk, and whether or not you're obviously at the worst end likely to either commit fraud or at the kind of the middle ground exaggerate a claim, for example. And I guess claim in the first instance, I guess there'll be certain claims that if you're reasonably well off, you just decide, well, I can't be bothered, I'm not going to go through that process, etc. So yeah. So I think that correlation really is what we're most interested in with claim risk, but also with things like cancellations, and also for product cross-sell and upsell as well.
So where do you think with data enrichment, if I was kind of starting from scratch to say where would be the first, the quickest wins? Is it on lead gen? Is it on underwriting, on risk assessment claims? Like which would be the one that you say, okay, start there? We'll get to all of them, of course, because you can do all of them, but where often you find the quicker wins?
I think getting that ID right in the first instance, and then applying it at quote, I think is the first, is the kind of first and second steps really there, and obviously inputting that into pricing really. So it's kind of making sure you're managing your front door really, so that you're not having to deal with it down the line. Obviously there's a cost benefit analysis to play with there in terms of how much the data costs, but you can work through those scenarios, build that business case, and work out what gain is to be had. That's where I'd recommend people start.
Fine. I'm going to go somewhere I don't really want to go and talk about COVID. I'm going to talk about it. I don't want to, but I'm going to. I'm going to ask you a question. How is it infected? Do you think infected, of course, but affected as well, the insurance customers? What are the consequences, and how is data actually playing a part in all of that?
Well, yeah, I mean, COVID's. We've seen significant dramatic shifts as a result of COVID, across the economy, consumer behavior, consumer outlook, confidence, habits, business, work-life patterns, where we're going on a day-to-day basis, that just the whole piece. And obviously it's starting to get a bit closer to normality, but it's still, the jury's out as to how close we'll get to what it used to be. And personally, I think that it is going to be different for the foreseeable future really. I think we should plan for it to be different, and I think with any major change like this, every organization, every business needs to look at what impact that has on consumers and their customers, and how that change therefore affects businesses. And obviously every insurer, broker, and MGA will be actively doing that at the moment, but obviously data has a huge part to play in that. And many consumers have been affected economically by COVID, particularly those people who've been furloughed, lost their jobs as a result. And I think, as I say, we will recover. I think the economy will recover, and there's plenty of green shoots we can point to. Particularly in the tech sector, which I think is able to kind of adapt and be flexible and move forward more quickly. And we're seeing lots of examples of companies hiring, but let's not get away from the fact that it is going to take quite a while to recover. So I think for insurance providers, the data they rely on, they need to have it, very much up to date, obviously, because a lot's happened in the last few months and last few weeks, and each week as we go forward, a consumer's, let's say, financial stress and profile can change almost on a week-to-week basis. So I think, that up-to-the-minute accurate data, providing that holistic picture of a consumer's financial, economic circumstances is really key.
That sounds really interesting, especially kind of the real-time, let's pull in data and kind of see what people are thinking and feeling. But is that part of, I know you talk about like next generation data enrichment, is that part of that? Yeah,
absolutely. So I think, I talked at the start about the kind of the insurance initiatives journey. We see that as the kind of the first wave really of data enrichment from kind of third-party providers. That was kind of harnessing the power of individual data sets and providing access to those data sets in insurance pricing at point of quote. But as you say, and particularly in the last few months, the world has moved on, and insurers are looking to enhance the consumer experience, be more intuitive, be more frictionless, and obviously this Insurtech group is at the forefront of that. But data enrichment needs to move on as well, and so we talk about next generation to mean new, more predictive data sets, not used in isolation, but both with themselves, but also with insurer data and a wide range of third-party data sets. As I say, using the latest techniques in machine learning, AI, to extract maximum value to deliver that benefit to the consumer and obviously to the insurer as well. And I think there's a point there about flexibility as well, and the concept that we need to work with consumers so they allow us to use their data for their benefit. I think that's a next generation piece that we all need to be focused on. We need to understand the value exchange in such transactions, providing a clear motivation for consumers to share their information with us. And just create that frictionless journey, really. I think if we can nail that, then there'll be gains for both sides.
Two kind of related questions. The one is regarding the big insurers, and the other is around the Insurtechs who we love dearly and would like to see become the big insurers one day. Is what do we what can we get from you? What do we need from you? How do we work with with Percayso? Like, what do the big guys need, and much more importantly, what is the Insurtech community? What can we get, and how can we use that to win?
Yeah, well, I think I think about partnerships really. What we're trying to drive is a true partnerships, and it might sound a bit corny, but that's that's what we're looking to do, and I think we want to be human. We strive to build relationships with both our partners, of which we have many, and our clients as well, and viewing our clients as partners. And I think there's a huge amount of change out there, in terms of consumer demand, technological change, new market entrants. No one company can do that, all themselves. And so I think most, organizations, insurtechs, are looking for that flexibility and that ability to focus on their specific needs, and willing to put something together that's actually for them, not just we've got 3 different products, do you want A, B or C kind of thing. So I think it's that specificity to the individuals that I think many insurtechs are really looking for.
So if my fellow peers and colleagues are sitting there at the moment thinking it sounds all pretty good, but they kind of lose track, and in their mind over the next few months they ask themselves 1 or 2 or 3 questions, what would those questions be that the answer is phone Richard? What would those questions be?
So I think, I'm not sure if I can come up with three, but
one or two is great as well. Listen, if it's only one, that's even better for you, because that means you've really honed what you do and what you do well.
yeah,
Unlike the rest of us, which have 25 things that are kind of okay for people to phone
yeah.
us about.
So I think you know, working out what your data enrichment strategy is. Fundamentally, data enrichment is going to help you price better, which, you know, ultimately means lower claims. It means you know, an improved loss ratio. So, you know, what are the data sets? What are the data sources, and how should I be using them to further all of those objectives, really? And recognizing that you know, most insurtechs aren't necessarily data enrichment experts. They're experts in their own business. So, you know, what we want to do there really is advise and help and you know, avoid the pitfalls, avoid spending too much money on you know, data sources that isn't going to deliver the ultimate value that they want to do. So I think working through what you want to achieve, and how that data enrichment strategy fits into that, you know, obviously we'd be delighted to help with that.
Fantastic, thank you. I have no doubt your lines will be ringing the moment that this wonderful video airs. Thank you very much for your time, Richard, and you know, we do hope we work together for many long, profitable years, enriching lots of data and becoming more efficient while we do it.
Absolutely. Many thanks, Jonathan. Really good to talk.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thank you.